Ever felt the weight of a decision? A moment where the path ahead seems less like a journey and more like a minefield. We all face those crossroads, times when the world demands a choice, a stand, a leap of faith into the unknown. Imagine that, feeling amplified, magnified by the raw, untamed beauty and brutal indifference of the natural world, where survival is the only law. Picture a man, once a symbol of unwavering strength, now seeking solace in the solitude of the jungle. He's traded the roar of battle for the quiet rhythm of the river, the clash of steel for the subtle dance of a fishing line. He's a ghost in the green, a shadow among the trees, a man named Rambo. But even the most remote corners of the earth are not immune to the echoes of human conflict. Peace, it seems, is a fragile thing, easily shattered by the intrusion of desperation and the hunger for control. This is the reality that crashes into Rambo's carefully constructed world. A group of idealists, missionaries driven by a fervent desire to help, enters his secluded domain. They seek to deliver aid, to offer comfort to a people oppressed, a tribe known as the Karen, who live within the grasp of a brutal regime. Their plea for help is a whisper in the wind, a call to action that reverberates through the dense foliage and reaches the ears of a man who has sworn off the battlefield. Reluctantly, Rambo agrees. He knows the territory, the hidden dangers, the treacherous paths that snake through the jungle like venomous serpents. He understands the stakes. He knows the darkness that lurks within the hearts of men, the kind of darkness that can transform a peaceful landscape into a theater of war. His journey begins not with a thirst for glory, but with a quiet determination to protect those who cannot protect themselves. But the path ahead is not paved with good intentions. It's riddled with unseen dangers, both physical and moral. The Burmese army, a force of merciless brutality, is a constant threat, a shadow that looms over the missionaries and the Karen people they hope to assist. The jungle itself becomes a character, a silent witness to the unfolding drama, its beauty, juxtaposed with the horrors of conflict. The missionaries are captured, their hopes dashed against the rocks of reality. Rambo, forced to confront the darkness once more, is thrust back into the crucible of violence. He must unleash the warrior within, the man he had tried to bury, the ghost that haunts his every step. The choice is no longer about seeking peace. It's about survival, about rescuing those he vowed to protect. But this fight is not just against a visible enemy. It's also a battle against the shadows of his own past, a confrontation with the demons that have followed him from war to war, from one self-imposed exile to another. This is the story of a man forced to confront the ultimate test, a journey into the heart of darkness, where the only certainty is the price of survival. The concept of survival itself undergoes a profound transformation within this narrative. It's no longer just about evading immediate physical threats. Furthermore, it evolves into a complex interplay of moral choices, psychological resilience, and the unwavering commitment to protecting the vulnerable. Building on this, consider the burden of a survivor. Rambo, once a soldier, has experienced the horrors of war firsthand. Consequently, he carries the weight of his past actions, the ghosts of those he couldn't save, the moral compromises he had to make. Conversely, for the missionaries, survival initially takes a different form, focusing on their faith and their dedication to humanitarian work. Another crucial layer is the environment itself. The Thai jungle isn't merely a backdrop, it becomes a character in its own right. The dense foliage, the treacherous terrain, the hidden dangers, all contribute to the constant struggle for survival. The humid air, the relentless insects, the scarcity of resources, these are the daily realities that shape the lives of those who call the jungle home. Consequently, Rambo's expertise in navigating this environment becomes a crucial asset, a skill that separates him from the more naive and unprepared missionaries. The Burmese army, representing the forces of oppression, adds another dimension to the survival equation. Their brutality, their disregard for human life, their systematic use of violence create a climate of fear and desperation. Furthermore, the Karen people, caught in the crossfire, must learn to adapt, to find ways to survive under constant threat. Building on this, their survival depends on their ability to blend into the environment, to use their knowledge of the jungle to their advantage, and to maintain their cultural identity in the face of relentless pressure. Now, consider how this applies when you face difficult choices. The story forces us to contemplate the different facets of survival. It's not just about physical endurance, but about maintaining one's humanity in the face of overwhelming adversity. The missionaries, for instance, learn that their faith is tested not only by the dangers of the jungle but also by the moral compromises they must make to survive. Conversely, Rambo must confront his own demons, the trauma of his past, and decide whether he can overcome them to help those in need. Furthermore, the narrative explores the concept of resilience. The Karen people, despite facing constant oppression, demonstrate an extraordinary ability to endure. They find ways to maintain their culture, their traditions, and their hope for the future. Building on this, the story highlights the importance of community, of solidarity, and of the bonds that connect people in times of crisis. This is the true essence of survival. It's not just about individual strength, but about the collective will to overcome adversity. The narrative's exploration of survival extends beyond mere physical endurance. It delves into the psychology of trauma and its enduring impact. Consider the concept of post-traumatic stress, a condition that can profoundly shape an individual's perception of the world and their capacity to function. Rambo, bearing the scars of countless battles, embodies this struggle. His self-imposed isolation, the deliberate avoidance of human contact, is not a sign of weakness. It is a defense mechanism, a way to shield himself from the triggers that could unleash the horrors of his past. Furthermore, the story subtly examines the concept of moral injury. This is a distinct form of psychological distress, born not from the direct threat of physical harm, but from the violation of deeply held moral beliefs. Soldiers, aid workers, and even ordinary citizens can experience moral injury when they witness or participate in acts that contradict their values. In this context, Rambo's past actions, the decisions he had to make in the heat of combat, may have left him wrestling with feelings of guilt, shame, and self-reproach. Building on this, the narrative provides a powerful illustration of the human capacity for resilience. Even amidst the chaos and brutality of war, the characters demonstrate an extraordinary ability to adapt, to persevere, and to find moments of grace. The Karen people, for example, maintain their cultural traditions, their sense of community, and their hope for a better future, even under the constant threat of violence. This steadfastness in the face of adversity is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Conversely, the film illuminates the complex relationship between violence and its consequences. The Burmese army's brutality, the indiscriminate use of force, leaves a trail of physical and psychological devastation. The missionaries, initially driven by their idealistic goals, are forced to confront the harsh realities of war and the moral compromises it demands. This juxtaposition underscores the destructive power of conflict and the lasting impact it has on individuals and communities. Another crucial layer is the concept of redemption. Can a man like Rambo, burdened by his past, find a path towards healing and renewal? The story hints at the possibility of redemption, not through easy forgiveness or a sudden transformation, but through acts of courage, compassion, and self-sacrifice. His willingness to risk his life to protect the missionaries and the Karen people suggests a desire to atone for his past actions and to find meaning in a world that often seems devoid of it. Now, consider how this applies when you face your own internal conflicts. The narrative serves as a reminder that trauma is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural response to overwhelming experiences. Seeking help, confronting one's demons, and finding ways to heal are not signs of failure. They are acts of courage. The story also suggests that even in the darkest of times, there is always the potential for resilience, for hope, and for the capacity to make a difference. The narrative also delves into the intricate dance between technology and the human condition within a conflict zone. Consider the presence of advanced weaponry and surveillance tools employed by the Burmese army. Furthermore, this technological advantage creates an asymmetrical warfare scenario, where the Karen people and Rambo, armed primarily with their knowledge of the jungle and their personal skills, are at a significant disadvantage. This disparity compels them to utilize their ingenuity and resourcefulness to survive. Building on this, however, the film doesn't simply depict technology as a force of destruction. It also subtly examines its potential to amplify human connection and facilitate acts of resistance. Think about mistakes, accepting responsibility, and moving forward. Consequently, the film's narrative structure, characterized by its non-linear storytelling and frequent flashbacks, allows for a deeper exploration of Rambo's internal struggles. These flashbacks are not merely devices to provide exposition. They are windows into his psyche, offering glimpses into the traumas that continue to haunt him. They serve to humanize him, to make him more relatable, and to underscore the lasting impact of war. It's as if these memories are unwelcome guests, constantly intruding on his attempts to find solace. Conversely, consider the film's use of symbolism, a powerful tool for conveying deeper meaning. The recurring imagery of water, representing both life and purification, reflects Rambo's desire for cleansing and renewal. The jungle itself, with its dense foliage and hidden dangers, symbolizes the unseen threats and moral ambiguities of conflict. The use of fire, representing both destruction and transformation, mirrors Rambo's internal struggle. Now, consider how this applies when you observe the world around you. Are you attuned to the symbolic language of art, literature, and film? Do you recognize the deeper meanings that lie beneath the surface? Let's now consider how the narrative illuminates the psychological impact of prolonged isolation. A facet of Rambo's character often overlooked, his self-imposed exile in Thailand, isn't merely a physical retreat. It is a desperate attempt to sever ties with the world, to escape the memories that haunt his waking hours. This isolation, however, becomes a double-edged sword. It provides a semblance of peace, a respite from the horrors of war, yet it also fosters a sense of detachment, a gradual erosion of his ability to connect with others. Moreover, The film subtly explores the theme of the dehumanizing effects of propaganda, a critical component of the Burmese military's tactics. Their relentless demonization of the Karen people, portraying them as enemies to be eradicated, is a stark reminder of how language can be weaponized to justify violence. This propaganda isn't merely about spreading misinformation, it's about creating an us versus them mentality, fostering a climate of fear and hatred that makes atrocities possible. Building on this, the film's narrative structure, with its a blend of action sequences and moments of quiet contemplation, mirrors the emotional fluctuations of Rambo's journey. The explosive action scenes serve as a visceral representation of the chaos and brutality of war, while the quieter moments allow the audience to connect with his inner turmoil, his struggles, and his vulnerability. The juxtaposition of these contrasting elements creates a compelling cinematic experience. Consequently, the film also offers a subtle commentary on the complexities of foreign intervention. The presence of the missionaries, while driven by good intentions, highlights the challenges of imposing one's values and ideals on a culture that may not share them. Their efforts, while admirable, are ultimately limited by their lack of understanding of the political and cultural dynamics at play. The film, therefore, encourages viewers to consider the potential pitfalls of interventionism and the importance of cultural sensitivity. In contrast, the film utilizes the setting of the Thai jungle to symbolize the resilience of the human spirit. The dense foliage, the vibrant wildlife, and the natural beauty of the landscape stand in stark contrast to the violence and destruction of war. This juxtaposition serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and beauty can endure. Another crucial layer is the film's nuanced portrayal of the concept of forgiveness, both internal and external. Rambo's journey involves not only confronting his past but also coming to terms with the mistakes he's made and the lives he's taken. It's a process of self-acceptance, of acknowledging his flaws and limitations, and of finding the strength to move forward. Now, consider how this dynamic applies to your own life and the way you react when you feel wronged by others. Do you believe in the power of forgiveness, or are you more inclined to hold on to resentment and anger? Let's now shift our focus to the film's exploration of the complexities of moral courage, especially in a context defined by escalating violence. The narrative isn't simply a demonstration of physical bravery. It's a profound examination of the difficult choices individuals must make when confronted with profound ethical dilemmas. Rambo, compelled by the plight of the missionaries, is forced to confront his own internal conflicts and to decide whether to act, knowing the potential consequences. His decision isn't made lightly. It is a testament to his evolving character. Moreover, the film uses the stark contrast between the serene Thai landscape and the brutal realities of war to underscore the fragility of peace. The lush, vibrant jungle, with its abundant flora and fauna, becomes a battleground, a place where life and death are in constant conflict. This juxtaposition serves as a powerful reminder of the devastating impact of violence on both the human and natural worlds. Building on this thought, the filmmakers skillfully employ the concept of visual symbolism to enhance the narrative's emotional impact. The frequent use of shadows and low lighting during the combat sequences creates a sense of unease and foreboding, mirroring the psychological state of the characters. The recurring imagery of fire, representing both destruction and purification, reflects Rambo's internal struggle, his desire for redemption, and the challenges he faces. Consequently, the film subtly critiques the romanticized notion of the lone wolf hero. While Rambo is undeniably a skilled combatant, the narrative doesn't glorify his actions. Instead, it focuses on the devastating consequences of violence, the psychological toll it takes on individuals, and the moral compromises that are often necessary in war. The film presents a more realistic and nuanced portrayal of heroism, one that acknowledges the complexities of human nature. Conversely, the narrative masterfully utilizes the contrast between Rambo's stoicism and the missionaries' unwavering faith to explore the different approaches to conflict resolution. The missionaries, despite their commitment to display remarkable bravery in the face of extreme adversity. Their willingness to risk their lives to help others serves as a powerful counterpoint to Rambo's more pragmatic approach. This juxtaposition raises fundamental questions about the nature of heroism and the different ways individuals can choose to confront evil. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the theme of redemption. Rambo's journey isn't merely about surviving. It's about finding a way to reconcile his past with his present. He grapples with his inner demons, confronting the guilt and trauma associated with his wartime experiences. His actions, though often violent, are ultimately driven by a desire to protect the innocent and to atone for his past transgressions. Now, consider how this impacts your own decision-making process when faced with difficult moral choices in your life. Do you follow your values, even when it's challenging? Let's now delve into the film's exploration of the concept of moral courage, specifically within the context of the ethical dilemmas inherent in armed conflict. The narrative isn't simply a display of physical prowess. It's a profound examination of the difficult choices individuals must confront when faced with profound ethical quandaries. Rambo, motivated by the plight of the missionaries, is compelled to confront his own internal conflicts and to decide whether to act, fully aware of the potential repercussions. His decision is not a casual one. It is a testament to his evolving character and the choices he must make. Moreover, the film utilizes the striking contrast between the tranquil Thai landscape and the brutal realities of war to underscore the fragility of peace. The lush verdant jungle, teeming with life, becomes a battleground, a zone where existence and mortality are in perpetual conflict. This juxtaposition serves as a potent reminder of the devastating impact of violence on both the human and natural worlds. The setting itself serves as a metaphor for the human heart, beautiful and complex, yet easily scarred. Building on this, the filmmakers skillfully employ the concept of visual symbolism to heighten the narrative's emotional impact. The frequent use of shadows and low lighting during the combat sequences creates a sense of unease and foreboding, mirroring the psychological state of the characters. The recurring imagery of fire, representing both destruction and purification, reflects Rambo's internal struggle, his desire for redemption, and the trials he endures. Consequently, the film subtly critiques the romanticized notion of the lone hero. While Rambo is undeniably a skilled combatant, the narrative doesn't glorify his actions. Instead, it focuses on the devastating consequences of violence, the psychological toll it takes on individuals, and the moral compromises that are often necessary in war. The film presents a more realistic and nuanced portrayal of heroism, one that acknowledges the complexities of human nature. Conversely, the narrative masterfully utilizes the contrast between Rambo's stoicism and the missionaries' unwavering faith to explore the different approaches to conflict resolution. The missionaries, despite their commitment to nonviolence, display remarkable bravery in the face of extreme adversity. Their missionaries, though well-intentioned, are ultimately ill-equipped to navigate the complexities of the conflict. Their idealistic approach clashes with the brutal realities of war, and their efforts, while admirable, are ultimately insufficient to address the underlying causes of the conflict. The film therefore serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the importance of understanding the nuances of a situation before intervening. Conversely, the film utilizes the character of Rambo to explore the concept of inner resilience and the ability to overcome trauma. His journey is not simply a physical one, but a psychological one as well. He is forced to confront his past demons and find the strength to act, even when faced with overwhelming odds. His ability to adapt, to survive, and to ultimately choose to fight for what he believes in serves as an inspiration to viewers. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the concept of the other. The Karen people are presented as a distinct cultural group, marginalized and persecuted by the Burmese military. The film challenges viewers to consider their own biases and prejudices, and to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of all human beings, regardless of their background or beliefs. Now, consider how this applies when you encounter individuals from different cultures or backgrounds. Are you open to understanding their perspectives, or do you allow your preconceived notions to cloud your judgment? Let's examine the film's potent use of sound, a crucial element that elevates the viewing experience beyond mere visual storytelling. The soundscape of the jungle, a symphony of unseen life, is meticulously crafted. We hear the rustling of leaves, the chirping of insects, and the distant calls of exotic birds. This auditory tapestry creates a sense of immersion, transporting the audience to the heart of the Thai wilderness. This deliberate use of diegetic sound, the sounds that emanate from the environment itself, contrasts sharply with the non-diegetic elements, such as the score, which provides emotional cues and enhances the narrative's dramatic impact. Furthermore, the film's sound design is particularly effective in conveying the psychological toll of war. The sudden, jarring explosions, the screams of the injured, and the metallic clang of gunfire are not just sonic markers of violence, they are instruments of emotional manipulation. They pierce the viewer's senses, mirroring the trauma experienced by the characters. The use of silence, or the absence of sound, is equally impactful. In moments of intense suspense or emotional vulnerability, the filmmakers often strip away the auditory elements, leaving the viewer to confront the raw, unadulterated reality of the scene. Building on this, the film offers a compelling exploration of the theme of cultural identity. The Karen people are not simply victims. They are a vibrant community with a rich history and unique traditions. The film showcases their traditional clothing, their music, and their way of life, providing a glimpse into a culture that is threatened by the encroaching forces of conflict. This portrayal serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of preserving cultural diversity in the face of globalization and homogenization. Consequently, the film's depiction of the Burmese military can be viewed through the lens of critical theory. The soldiers are presented as agents of a repressive regime, enforcing the will of the powerful and perpetrating acts of violence against a marginalized population. Their actions are not simply the result of individual malice, they are a manifestation of systemic oppression, a clear-cut example of how power structures can be used to dehumanize and control others. The film therefore encourages viewers to question the nature of power and to challenge the status quo. Conversely, the film uses the character of Rambo to explore the theme of self-discovery. His journey is not just a physical one, but also a spiritual one. He confronts his past traumas, grapples with his inner demons, and ultimately finds a sense of purpose in protecting the innocent. This transformation is not instantaneous. It is a gradual process of self-reflection and growth. He learns to embrace his capacity for violence, not as an end in itself, but as a means to an end, a tool that he must wield in order to do what is right. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the concept of sacrifice, Rambo's willingness to risk his life, and potentially to give it, for the sake of the missionaries and the kehrt people, speaks volumes about his evolving character. His sacrifice is not a display of blind heroism, but a conscious choice, a testament to his newfound commitment to something greater than himself. Now, consider how this applies when you witness acts of selflessness in your own life, or read about such acts in the news. Do you feel a sense of admiration, or perhaps a sense of obligation to contribute to something greater than yourself? Let's consider how the film subtly addresses the concept of moral responsibility, particularly in the context of Rambo's actions. His choices are not simply about physical survival. They are about navigating a moral landscape where the lines between right and wrong are frequently blurred. He is confronted with a series of difficult decisions, each carrying significant ethical weight. Moreover, he must bear the burden of his past actions, the consequences of which continue to haunt him. Furthermore, the film's narrative structure can be analyzed through a lens of narrative archetypes. Rambo embodies the hero's journey, classic narrative structure that traces an individual's transformation from ordinary existence to heroic action. He answers the call to adventure, faces trials and tribulations, and ultimately returns to his world transformed by his experiences. This familiar narrative framework provides a sense of familiarity and structure, allowing the audience to connect with Rambo's experiences on a deeper level. Building on this, the film offers a commentary on the limitations of military intervention, the brutal realities of the conflict, and the devastating consequences of violence. Serve as a cautionary tale about the potential pitfalls of foreign involvement. The film underscores the importance of understanding the complexities of a situation before intervening, and the potential for unintended consequences. The film seems to suggest that there are no easy solutions to complex problems, and that violence often begets more violence. Consequently, the film subtly critiques the concept of toxic masculinity. Rambo, while embodying the traditional traits of a strong, silent hero, also displays a capacity for vulnerability and empathy. His willingness to connect with the missionaries, his concern for the kehrt people, and his eventual sacrifice demonstrate a more nuanced and compassionate view of masculinity. He challenges the traditional notion of the stoic, unemotional warrior. Conversely, the film's portrayal of the Burmese military serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the erosion of moral boundaries. The soldiers, acting under the command of a ruthless regime, are presented as instruments of violence, devoid of empathy or compassion. Their actions highlight the potential for individuals to be transformed into perpetrators of atrocities when subjected to oppressive ideologies. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the concept of hope. Despite the brutality of war and the seemingly insurmountable odds, the film offers a message of resilience and the enduring power of the human spirit. The kehrt people, despite their suffering, maintain their cultural identity and their hope for a better future. Rambo, even in his darkest moments, finds the strength to act in the service of others. Now, consider how this applies when you are faced with difficult situations. Do you focus on the negative, or do you try to maintain a sense of hope? Let's now examine the film's exploration of the concept of courage. Moving beyond the mere physicality often associated with heroism, courage isn't solely about the display of physical prowess or the willingness to engage in combat. Instead, it's intricately tied to moral fortitude, the capacity to act in accordance with one's conscience, even when confronted with overwhelming fear or potential harm. Rambo's courage isn't simply about wielding weapons. It's about making difficult choices, facing his inner demons, and standing up for those who cannot defend themselves. Building on this, however, the film subtly examines the notion of sacrifice, a key component of true heroism. Sacrifice isn't limited to giving one's life on the battlefield. It can also encompass the willingness to endure personal suffering, to relinquish comfort and security for the greater good. Rambo's actions, particularly his final act, represent this concept in its purest form. He chooses to confront danger, to put himself in harm's way, to protect those he has come to care about. He understands the inherent risks, yet he embraces them, knowing that his actions may lead to his demise. Another crucial layer is the film's subtle exploration of the theme of forgiveness, both for oneself and for others. Rambo carries the weight of his past, the guilt and trauma associated with his experiences in war. He struggles to forgive himself for the actions he was forced to take, the lives he was forced to end. The film doesn't offer a simplistic resolution to this internal conflict, but it does suggest that forgiveness is a crucial step toward healing and finding peace. It's about acknowledging one's and moral ambiguities of conflict. Consequently, the film's exploration of the Karen people's plight can be viewed through a lens of post-colonial critique. The Burmese military's actions represent a form of internal colonialism, where a dominant power subjugates a minority group. The film subtly critiques the dynamics of power and oppression, reminding us of the enduring consequences of historical injustices. Conversely, the film doesn't shy away from portraying the complexities of Rambo's character. He is neither a flawless hero nor a purely destructive force. His actions are driven by a complex mix of motives, a desire to help the innocent, a sense of personal responsibility, and a deep-seated need for redemption. Another crucial layer is the film's engagement with the concept of masculinity. Rambo embodies the archetype of the stoic, self-reliant warrior. However, the film challenges this traditional portrayal by showing the emotional toll of his actions and the fragility beneath his hardened exterior. His vulnerability, his capacity for love and compassion, and his eventual willingness to sacrifice himself for others redefine what it means to be a hero. Now consider how this applies to the portrayals of men in modern media. Are they often presented as one-dimensional figures of strength, or are their vulnerabilities acknowledged? Let's delve into the film's nuanced portrayal of the concept of redemption. It's not simply a matter of Rambo vanquishing the enemy and riding off into the sunset. Instead, the narrative offers a more complex and perhaps more realistic perspective. He isn't necessarily cured of his demons. The scars of war remain. His final act is not a triumphant victory, but a desperate, sacrificial gesture. Building on this, the film indirectly touches upon the nature of propaganda and its insidious influence. The Burmese military's actions are fueled by a distorted ideology, used to justify their brutality. Their dehumanization of the Karen people, portraying them as less than human, is a direct result of this propaganda. This echoes a pattern seen throughout history, where governments and powerful entities manipulate information to control populations and incite violence. Furthermore, the film subtly examines the concept of moral relativism. The characters are forced to make difficult choices in a situation where there are no easy answers, and their actions are often driven by a combination of self-preservation and the desire to protect others. The lines between right and wrong become blurred, and the consequences of their decisions can be devastating. Consequently, the film doesn't offer a simple moral lesson, but instead, it encourages the audience to grapple with the complexities of ethical decision-making in extreme circumstances. Conversely, the film uses the contrast between the lush Thai landscape and the brutal violence to highlight the fragility of peace. The beauty of the jungle is constantly threatened by the brutality of war, creating a sense of tension and unease. The idyllic setting serves as a stark reminder of what is being lost and the devastation that conflict leaves behind. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the idea of legacy. Rambo's actions, both good and bad, will shape the world he leaves behind. His willingness to sacrifice himself for the sake of others is a testament to his evolving character. His legacy is not defined solely by his combat skills, but by his capacity for empathy and his ability to choose to act in the face of overwhelming odds. Now, consider how this applies to your own life and how you wish to be remembered. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what actions will you take to achieve it? The narrative's examination of the cost of war extends beyond the immediate battlefield, touching upon the concept of intergenerational trauma. The actions of the Burmese military, steeped in a history of conflict and oppression, likely stem from a cycle of violence. Consequently, the film implicitly suggests that the horrors of war are not confined to a single generation. They ripple outward, impacting families, communities, and entire societies. This cyclical nature of violence, where past traumas fuel present atrocities, is a sobering observation. Building on this, however, the film subtly explores the theme of environmental degradation. The conflict, with its explosions, deforestation, and displacement of communities, has a devastating impact on the natural world. The once pristine jungle, a symbol of peace and refuge, becomes a battleground, scarred by the ravages of war. This destruction serves as a metaphor for the broader consequences of human conflict, which often extends far beyond the human cost. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the idea of cultural preservation. The Karen people, with their unique traditions and way of life, are threatened by the Burmese military's actions. Their culture is under attack, their villages are destroyed, and their very existence is imperiled. The film subtly emphasizes the importance of cultural diversity and the tragic consequences of its loss. Furthermore, the film offers a commentary on the nature of propaganda and its ability to distort reality. The Burmese military uses propaganda to justify its actions, demonizing the Karen people and portraying them as enemies. This manipulation of information leads to violence and suffering, highlighting the dangers of misinformation and the importance of critical thinking. Consider how this applies to current events. Are you able to distinguish between fact and fiction? Conversely, the film underscores the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. The Karen people, despite facing unimaginable hardship, demonstrate extraordinary courage and determination. Their unwavering spirit and their commitment to their traditions serve as a powerful testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. Now consider how this applies when you face difficult challenges in your own life. What inner resources do you draw upon to overcome adversity? The film's narrative also subtly addresses the concept of moral ambiguity, particularly within the context of armed conflict. It doesn't present clear-cut heroes or villains, instead portrays individuals grappling with impossible choices in a morally compromised environment. The missionaries, while driven by altruistic intentions, find themselves entangled in a situation where their non-violent principles are severely tested. Furthermore, the Burmese soldiers, though responsible for horrific acts, are often presented as pawns in a larger game, acting under orders and indoctrination. Building on this, the film utilizes the setting of the Thai-Burmese border to underscore the theme of displacement and refuge. The Karen people are forced to flee their homes, seeking safety in the dense jungle or across the border. This plight reflects the broader global refugee crisis, where millions of people are displaced by conflict, persecution, and environmental disasters. The jungle, initially a sanctuary for Rambo, becomes a haven for those seeking to escape the horrors of war. Consequently, the film's visual language amplifies the emotional impact of the story. The use of close-up shots during moments of intense emotion, like Rambo's flashbacks or the missionaries' moments of despair, draws the viewer into the characters' experiences. Moreover, the contrast between the vibrant colors of the Thai landscape and the desaturated tones of the combat scenes creates a visual dichotomy, reflecting the contrast between peace and violence. Conversely, the film subtly explores the concept of the bystander effect. The outside world, represented by the media and various governmental bodies, often seems disconnected from the brutal realities of the conflict. This detachment allows atrocities to continue, highlighting the importance of bearing witness and speaking out against injustice. Another crucial layer is the film's engagement with the idea of reconciliation. While the film doesn't offer a simple solution to the conflict, it hints at the possibility of healing and forgiveness. Rambo's actions, though violent, are ultimately driven by a desire to protect the innocent. His sacrifice, though tragic, offers a glimmer of hope for a future where violence is no longer the answer. Now consider how this applies when you witness injustice in your own community. Are you willing to stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult? The film also implicitly touches upon the concept of ecological responsibility, showcasing the destructive impact of war on the natural environment. The use of explosives and the clearing of land for military purposes results in widespread deforestation and pollution, directly impacting the delicate ecosystem of the Thai jungle. This destruction serves as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of all living things and the long-term consequences of human actions on the planet. Furthermore, the narrative explores the theme of the dehumanization of the enemy, a common phenomenon in times of conflict. The Burmese soldiers are depicted as a monolithic force, stripped of their individuality and portrayed as instruments of violence. This portrayal, while potentially simplifying the complexities of the situation, serves to highlight the psychological mechanisms that allow individuals to commit atrocities against their fellow human beings. The film implicitly asks viewers to consider the dangers of such dehumanization and the importance of empathy even in the face of conflict. Consequently, the story subtly critiques the limitations of Western interventionism, the capacity to compartmentalize trauma. Rambo, in his self-imposed exile, attempts to build walls around his past, to isolate the memories that threaten to consume him. He tries to live in a present devoid of the echoes of explosions and the faces of fallen comrades. Building on this, however, the narrative explores the tragic irony of such an endeavor. The very skills that Rambo desperately wants to leave behind are precisely the ones that make him a target, a potential savior. He is a walking paradox, a weapon yearning for peace, a warrior seeking tranquility. This internal conflict is a crucial element of his character arc. It's not simply about physical survival. It's about the battle within, the struggle to reconcile his past with his present and future. Another crucial layer is the concept of moral obligation. Rambo's initial reluctance to re-enter the fray stems from a deep-seated weariness, a profound understanding of the cost of violence. However, the plight of the missionaries, their unwavering commitment to humanitarian aid, acts as a catalyst. Consequently, their capture forces him to confront a moral dilemma. Does he remain in his self-imposed exile, sacrificing the lives of others to preserve his own peace? Or does he embrace the warrior within, accepting the burden of violence to protect the innocent? Conversely, the film uses the brutal landscape of the Thai-Burmese border as a metaphor for the moral wasteland created by conflict. The jungle, with its hidden dangers and unforgiving terrain, mirrors the psychological landscape of war. The relentless Burmese army, a force of unbridled cruelty, represents the dehumanizing effects of power and the erosion of moral boundaries. Now, consider how this applies when you face difficult choices in your own life. Are you willing to step into the arena to confront the challenges that demand action, or will you retreat to a place of perceived safety? The film doesn't shy away from the grim realities of armed conflict. It portrays the violence with unflinching honesty, forcing the audience to confront the brutality of war. The graphic scenes of carnage serve a purpose, jolting the viewer out of any romanticized notions of heroism. The violence is not glorified. It is presented as a devastating consequence of human actions. Furthermore, this realistic portrayal of violence serves to amplify the emotional impact of Rambo's transformation. It underscores the immense psychological toll that war inflicts on individuals, forcing them to make difficult choices and to confront the darkest aspects of their own nature. The narrative's exploration of Rambo's internal struggles also serves as a poignant commentary on the long-lasting repercussions of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Though the film doesn't explicitly label his condition, the symptoms are starkly evident: the flashbacks, the social isolation, and the profound difficulty in forming meaningful connections. He is a man haunted by the specters of his past, trapped in a cycle of reliving traumatic experiences. It's as if every sunrise in Thailand is a temporary reprieve, a fragile truce with his inner demons before the inevitable onslaught of nightmares. Furthermore, the film subtly examines the societal indifference often faced by veterans returning from war. Rambo's initial experiences in previous installments highlight the lack of support and understanding he encountered upon his return home. He is a casualty not just of the battlefield, but also of a system that fails to adequately address the psychological wounds of war. This sense of abandonment fuels his desire for self-sufficiency and his distrust of authority. It's a narrative that speaks volumes about the importance of mental health care and the need for empathetic support for those who have sacrificed so much. Building on this, the film uses the contrasting personalities of Rambo and the missionaries to highlight the complexities of moral choices in extreme situations. The missionaries, driven by their unwavering faith and commitment to nonviolence, represent a stark contrast to Rambo's pragmatic, sometimes brutal approach. This juxtaposition forces the audience to contemplate the effectiveness of different approaches to conflict resolution. Can unwavering pacifism be a viable strategy in the face of overwhelming aggression? Or does a willingness to use force become a necessary evil when protecting the vulnerable? Consequently, the film subtly critiques the nature of interventionism. The presence of the missionaries, coupled with the brutal actions of the Burmese military, raises complex questions about the ethics of foreign involvement in internal conflicts. Who has the right to intervene? What are the potential consequences of such actions? The film doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it presents a nuanced perspective, acknowledging the complexities of the situation and the potential pitfalls of well-intentioned but ultimately misguided efforts. Conversely, the depiction of the Karen people serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of political oppression. Their suffering, the relentless attacks on their villages, and the displacement of their communities underscores the importance of defending human rights and challenging tyranny. The film acts as a visceral plea for empathy, urging viewers to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all. Now, consider how this applies to global conflicts today. Are we sufficiently aware of the human cost of wars fought in far-off lands? Do we truly understand the long-term implications of our actions? The depiction of Rambo's physical prowess, his mastery of combat, serves as a potent illustration of the concept of learned helplessness. He is a man trained to kill, a weapon forged in the fires of war. Yet, his capacity for destruction is inextricably linked to his profound sense of powerlessness in the face of larger, often incomprehensible forces. He understands the limitations of his skills, the futility of individual action against systemic injustice. This understanding fuels his initial reluctance to engage, his desire to remain detached. Furthermore, the film subtly critiques the fetishization of violence often present in action films. While Rambo is undoubtedly a skilled combatant, the film doesn't glorify his actions. Instead, it emphasizes the brutal consequences of his choices, the psychological toll it takes on him, and the devastation it inflicts on those around him. The camera lingers on the aftermath of violence, showing the blood, the carnage, and the raw, unprocessed grief. This unflinching portrayal forces the audience to confront the reality of war, to understand that there are no easy victories, only sacrifices. Building on this, the narrative explores the theme of dehumanization. The Burmese soldiers are depicted as brutal, faceless figures, devoid of empathy or compassion. Their actions are driven by a blind obedience to authority and a ruthless disregard for human life. This portrayal serves as a cautionary tale, highlighting the dangers of unchecked power and the corrosive effects of propaganda. It underscores how easily individuals can be transformed into instruments of violence when stripped of their individuality and moral compass. Consequently, the film utilizes the setting of the Thai jungle to symbolize the chaos and unpredictability of armed conflict. The dense foliage, the hidden dangers, and the ever-present threat of ambush mirror the psychological landscape of war. The characters are constantly navigating a treacherous terrain, unsure of who to trust or what dangers lurk around the next corner. This sense of uncertainty and vulnerability heightens the tension and underscores the fragility of life in a war zone. Conversely, the film masterfully uses the contrast between Rambo's stoicism and the missionaries' unwavering faith to explore the complexities of moral courage. The missionaries, despite their non-violent convictions, display remarkable bravery in the face of extreme adversity. Their willingness to risk their lives to help others serves as a powerful counterpoint to Rambo's more pragmatic approach. This juxtaposition raises fundamental questions about the nature of heroism and the different ways individuals can choose to confront evil. Now, consider how this applies to your own life and the choices you make. Are you willing to stand up for what you believe in, even when it's difficult or dangerous? Consider how the film employs the visual language of cinema to convey its message. The cinematography isn't merely about capturing action sequences, it's a tool to delve into Rambo's psyche and the brutal realities of war. The use of handheld cameras during combat scenes creates a sense of immediacy and chaos, immersing the viewer in the visceral experience of violence. Conversely, the serene landscapes of Thailand are often depicted with long, sweeping shots, emphasizing the tranquility Rambo seeks and the jarring contrast with the ensuing bloodshed. Furthermore, the film uses sound design to amplify its impact. The deafening roar of gunfire, the piercing screams of the injured, and the haunting silence that follows a battle serve to create an immersive and emotionally charged experience. The absence of music during key moments of violence heightens the sense of realism, forcing the audience to confront the stark reality of war without any emotional manipulation. Building on this, the film also uses symbolism to convey deeper meanings. The recurring imagery of fire, representing both destruction and purification, reflects Rambo's internal struggle. The jungle itself, with its dense foliage and hidden dangers, symbolizes the unseen threats. The story presents a more nuanced view, a complex tapestry where the pursuit of justice is often elusive, fraught with moral ambiguities, and dependent on circumstance. Building on this, the film does not offer simple solutions. It does not provide easy answers to the question of how to achieve justice. Instead, it prompts us to consider the various forms it can take and the challenges involved in their pursuit. The missionaries, for example, seek justice through humanitarian aid, a commitment to alleviating suffering. Conversely, Rambo, at least initially, seeks justice through direct action, a willingness to use violence to protect the innocent. The narrative forces us to ponder the effectiveness of these contrasting approaches and the ethical implications of each. Another crucial layer is how the story examines the concept of transitional justice, the processes societies employ to address past human rights violations. This often involves truth-telling, reconciliation, and the prosecution of perpetrators. The film, however, does not depict these processes in their entirety. Rather, it suggests that the pursuit of justice is an ongoing struggle, a process that requires not only legal and political reforms, but also a commitment to healing and reconciliation. For example, what forms of justice might be available to the Karen people? How can they recover their land? How can they ensure that the atrocities committed against them are acknowledged and never repeated? The story does not provide clear answers, but it does highlight the importance of these questions. Now, consider how this applies when you encounter injustice in your own community. The narrative serves as a reminder that the pursuit of justice is not a passive endeavor. It requires action, advocacy, and a commitment to holding those in power accountable. Conversely, the film exposes the ways in which justice can be perverted. The Burmese army, with its disregard for human rights, uses the legal system to justify its actions. Furthermore, their control over the media and the judiciary ensures that their crimes go unpunished. The narrative underscores the fragility of justice and the importance of safeguarding against its abuse. The story implicitly challenges us to consider the importance of an independent judiciary, of a free press, and of a strong civil society. Reflecting on this journey so far, we've navigated a landscape of profound human experience, a terrain carved by conflict, resilience, and the unyielding quest for survival. We've witnessed the transformative power of environment, not merely as a backdrop, but as a character shaping destinies and influencing choices, the intricate dance between technology and human agency, between the tools of destruction and the instruments of hope, has been laid bare, revealing the complexities of power and resistance. We've considered the weight of cultural exchange, the potential for misunderstandings, and the critical need for empathy in forging connections across divides. Drawing these strands together, we see a tapestry woven with threads of faith, violence, and the eternal struggle for justice. The narrative has revealed the complexities of ethical decision-making, the burden of bearing witness, and the impact of memory. We've observed the human capacity for ingenuity, the resilience to adapt, and the profound value of hope, even when faced with overwhelming adversity. It has unveiled the concept of the outsider and the burden of being different. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, yet more challenging. The journey has underscored the importance of recognizing the multifaceted nature of courage. the ethical ambiguities inherent in conflict, and the lasting consequences of our choices. We've journeyed through the depths of human experience, exploring the interplay of mind and body, the ethical dimensions of environmental responsibility, and the enduring power of cultural heritage. We've traversed the terrain of remembrance, and we've contemplated the potential of cultural exchange. As we pivot towards the final reflection, we are left with a sense of the profound interconnectedness of all things, the intricate web of relationships that binds us together. We have considered the concept of legacy, the search for belonging, and the enduring power of the human spirit to resist oppression. The narrative has been a mirror, reflecting back our own humanity, our capacity for both great good and profound evil. We are now poised to confront the ultimate questions, to contemplate the enduring value of curiosity and the enduring power of the human spirit. The story of Rambo in the Thai jungle transcends the confines of mere entertainment. It becomes a potent metaphor for the human condition, a mirror reflecting our inherent capacity for both destruction and renewal. We've witnessed a man stripped bare, forced to confront not only external enemies but also the internal demons that haunt the corridors of his past. His journey, a desperate struggle for survival, mirrors the struggles we all face as we navigate the complexities of life, the moral ambiguities, and the persistent yearning for meaning. The true essence of the narrative lies not merely in the action-packed sequences or the depiction of brutal conflict. It resides in the exploration of the human spirit's resilience, its extraordinary ability to adapt, to endure, and to find hope even in the darkest of times. We've witnessed how the environment itself becomes a character, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Moreover, we've observed the intricate interplay of culture and conflict, the potential for misunderstandings, and the paramount importance of empathy in bridging divides. The narrative compels us to confront the difficult, ethical questions, to consider the complexities of power, and to recognize the lasting consequences of our choices. The story of Rambo serves as a reminder that the quest for survival is not merely a physical struggle. It is a deeply personal journey, a constant negotiation between our inner selves and the external world. It's a testament to the power of memory, the enduring impact of trauma, and the capacity for forgiveness. The film reminds us of the importance of bearing witness to injustice, of speaking truth to power, and of standing up for what we believe in. It compels us to consider the nature of courage, the challenges of cross-cultural interactions, and the enduring value of hope. The true practice begins now. The narrative, a compelling saga of survival, offers a profound invitation. It is an invitation to cultivate empathy, to embrace curiosity, and to confront the difficult questions that define our existence. It is an invitation to reflect on our own lives, to examine our values, and to consider the legacy we wish to leave behind. It is a call to action, a reminder that each of us has the power to make a difference, to stand up for what is right, and to contribute to a world where justice, compassion, and understanding prevail. The echoes of the jungle, the whispers of the Karen people, and the silent strength of Rambo, they all remain with us, urging us to look inward, to act with intention, and to embrace the enduring possibility of human resilience. Have you ever felt the weight of a decision, a choice that pulls you toward a path you desperately wish to avoid? Imagine that internal conflict amplified by the echoes of a past you can't outrun. This isn't just a story about a lone wolf, a man of action. It's a deeper exploration of the human spirit, the struggle between isolation and responsibility, and the devastating consequences of unchecked power. We often see heroes in the abstract, figures of unwavering resolve and perfect skill. But what happens when that hero is broken, haunted, and desperately seeking peace? What happens when the world demands he re-enter the arena of violence, a place that has already claimed so much of his soul? This script dives into the world of John Rambo, not as a caricature of brute force, but as a complex individual wrestling with the demons of war and the burden of his own capabilities. The lush, vibrant landscape of Thailand, a place of serene beauty, becomes the backdrop for a brutal, visceral journey. It is a setting that contrasts sharply with the darkness that Rambo carries within him. He has sought refuge in this emerald heart, attempting to escape the memories that claw at his sanity. He finds solace in the simple rhythms of life, the casting of a line, the quiet observation of nature. This is a world away from the chaos he knows. But peace, as it often does, proves to be fleeting. The arrival of a desperate plea shatters his fragile sanctuary. Missionaries, driven by a desire to aid the vulnerable Karen people, find themselves ensnared in a conflict far beyond their understanding. Their selfless mission places them directly in the crosshairs of a brutal, unrelenting enemy. Their capture becomes the catalyst, the event that forces Rambo to confront his past, to confront the skills he has tried so hard to bury. It is a story not just about rescuing those in need, but about the struggle to reclaim one's humanity in the face of unimaginable brutality. It's a question of whether a man can truly escape the darkness that war leaves behind, and if redemption is even possible when the world insists on seeing you as a weapon. The allure of solitude, the craving for a life untainted by conflict, is a powerful force. Rambo's retreat to Thailand represents this yearning, He seeks a sanctuary, a place where the cacophony of war fades into the background hum of the jungle. Furthermore, consider the psychology at play, the human mind's obligation to act. Rambo, though initially reluctant to re-enter the conflict, ultimately accepts this responsibility. He becomes a protector, a defender of the vulnerable, a man who refuses to stand idly by while innocent lives are threatened. Think, for instance, of the role of journalists in conflict zones. They risk their lives to document the truth, to expose human rights violations, and to hold those in power accountable. Their work is essential for informing the public and for generating pressure for change. Now, consider how this applies when you encounter injustice in your own life. Are you willing to speak out? Are you willing to take a stand? The narrative serves as a powerful reminder that silence can be a form of complicity and that our actions, or lack thereof, have consequences. Conversely, the film also explores the potential dangers of witnessing. The Burmese soldiers, complicit in the atrocities, may experience psychological trauma, a burden of guilt and shame that can haunt them for years to come. Furthermore, the act of bearing witness can be emotionally draining, requiring immense strength and resilience. The film demonstrates that the act of witnessing can be a heavy burden to bear, and it demands a commitment to truth and justice. Let's explore the intricacies of cultural appropriation and the ethical dilemmas it presents within the narrative's context. Consider the inherent power dynamics when individuals from a dominant culture interact with those from a marginalized one, specifically the missionaries' engagement with the Karen people. Furthermore, their intentions, however well-meaning, might inadvertently lead to the exploitation or misrepresentation of Karen culture, traditions, and belief systems. Consequently, we are prompted to critically evaluate the potential for cultural insensitivity and the importance of respecting the autonomy of the Karen people. Building on this, we might consider the missionaries' attempts to provide aid, how their approach may inherently reflect their own cultural biases, their reliance on Western methods, their communication styles, and their understanding of the world could clash with the Karen's established practices. Another crucial layer is the potential for the missionaries to inadvertently undermine the Karen's cultural identity by promoting Western values. They might unintentionally encourage the adoption of Western clothing, language, or religious practices. Their actions, born from a desire to help, could inadvertently contribute to the erosion of the Karen's cultural heritage. The film does not present a clear-cut answer, but rather poses important questions regarding the ethics of cultural exchange. The narrative forces us to examine the fine line between offering assistance and imposing one's own values. The story implicitly challenges us to consider the potential for cultural misunderstandings. The narrative underscores the complexities of cross-cultural interactions, reminding us that genuine aid requires not only compassion but also a profound respect for the recipient's culture and autonomy. Now, consider how this applies when you encounter cultural diversity in your own life. Are you mindful of the potential for cultural appropriation? Do you take the time to understand and appreciate the cultural practices of others? Do you avoid imposing your own cultural values on those who are different from you? The narrative serves as a reminder to be mindful of the power dynamics that shape cross-cultural interactions, to approach others with humility and respect, and to avoid actions that could contribute to cultural harm. Conversely, the film underscores the potential for cultural exchange to be enriching. The missionaries, through their interaction with the Karen people, may gain a deeper understanding of themselves and their own culture. The Karen people, in turn, may benefit from exposure to new ideas and perspectives. The narrative highlights the potential for cross-cultural learning, the opportunity to broaden one's horizons and to challenge one's own assumptions. Let's now turn our gaze toward the theme of memory and its complex interplay with survival and identity within the context of this narrative. The film unveils the significance of remembrance, not merely as a passive recollection of the past, but as an active force shaping the present. Furthermore, it demonstrates how memories, both joyful and traumatic, are etched into the very fabric of our being, influencing our actions, our relationships, and our perception of the world. Consequently, the characters' recollections of prior experiences become integral to their ability to navigate the treacherous terrain of conflict. Another crucial layer is how the narrative explores the notion of collective memory. The Karen people possess a rich oral tradition, passing down their history, their cultural values, and their experiences of oppression through storytelling and ritual. Building on this, the transmission of these narratives serves not only to preserve their cultural heritage but also to foster a sense of unity and resilience. The film illustrates how shared memories can provide strength and hope in the face of adversity, offering a sense of continuity amidst chaos. Consider the concept of historical revisionism. The Burmese regime attempts to rewrite history, to erase the Karen people's cultural identity, and to sanitize their own brutal actions. Conversely, the Karen people's insistence on remembering their past, on preserving their traditions, represents an act of resistance. In this regard, the story underscores the importance of historical accuracy and the dangers of allowing those in power to control the narrative. Furthermore, the narrative probes the concept of personal identity. The individual's memories, their formative experiences, their relationships, and their losses all contribute to the construction of their self-image. For Rambo, his wartime experiences have profoundly shaped his identity. His past is a constant presence, influencing his actions and his interactions with others. Now, consider how this applies when you reflect on your own life. What memories define you? How do your past experiences shape your present self? The narrative reminds us that our memories are not simply stored information, they are living forces that continue to shape our lives. Conversely, the film subtly explores the potential for memory to be both a source of strength and a source of pain. The burden of trauma can be overwhelming, and the memories of past events can be a source of suffering. The narrative acknowledges the psychological toll of war and the challenges faced by those who struggle to come to terms with their past experiences. The narrative's exploration of survival also intersects with the concepts of resilience, adaptation, and the inherent human capacity for innovation. Consider the Karen people's resourcefulness. They don't possess advanced weaponry or the backing of a powerful military. Furthermore, they are not afforded the luxury of surrender. Consequently, they must utilize their intimate knowledge of the jungle, their understanding of local flora and fauna, and their ingenuity to navigate the perils of conflict. Building on this, the film showcases how innovation can be a survival imperative. The Karen are forced to devise strategies for concealing themselves, for evading capture, and for communicating with each other, often using rudimentary tools and ingenious techniques. They are compelled to transform their environment into a weapon against their oppressors. The jungle, once a source of sustenance and shelter, becomes a strategic landscape, a theater of clandestine operations, where every leaf and shadow holds potential for protection. Another crucial layer is the idea that resilience is not a passive trait. It's an active process of learning, adapting, and evolving. The Karen, constantly under threat, are forced to modify their tactics, to anticipate their enemies' moves, and to develop new methods of defense. Their ability to bounce back from setbacks, to learn from their mistakes, and to maintain their resolve in the face of adversity is a testament to their intrinsic strength. Consider the stories of resistance movements throughout history. Think of the underground networks that emerged during the Second World War, the covert operations, the innovative methods of communication, and the ingenuity employed to evade detection. Now, consider how this applies when you face challenges that demand creative solutions. The story serves as a potent reminder that even when resources are limited, and the odds are stacked against you, ingenuity and adaptation can be powerful tools for survival. Conversely, the film hints at the dangers of rigidity and a reluctance to change. The Burmese army, reliant on its military might and its established tactics, sometimes underestimates the resourcefulness of its opponents. Furthermore, their inflexible approach can leave them vulnerable to unexpected attacks and innovative strategies. Their unwavering adherence to outdated methods, their failure to adapt to the changing realities of the conflict, demonstrates how inflexibility can be a liability. Let's now consider the narrative through the lens of justice and the multifaceted ways it is pursued and denied within the context of the conflict. One might initially assume that justice is the exclusive domain of the missionaries, the Karen people, and perhaps Rambo, who are clearly positioned as the good guys. Furthermore, we might expect justice to manifest in the form of retribution against the Burmese army, punishment for their atrocities. However, the nature of memory and the enduring impact of trauma. Rambo carries the weight of his past experiences, the ghosts of those he couldn't save. His memories shape his actions, his relationships, and his understanding of the world. The narrative is a reminder that trauma is not a sign of weakness, it's a natural response to overwhelming experiences. The narrative also presents a profound exploration of the concept of legacy and the lasting impact of our choices. Consider how Rambo, a man defined by his past, grapples with the desire to leave behind a positive mark, to ensure his actions contribute to something meaningful. Furthermore, he is acutely aware that his legacy is not simply defined by his combat skills, but also by his compassion, his willingness to stand up for the oppressed. Building on this, however, the film subtly examines the enduring power of storytelling and its capacity to shape our understanding of the world. The events of the film, though fictionalized, become a testament to the struggles faced by the Karen people and the brutality of the Burmese regime. Consequently, this cinematic account, like any powerful narrative, serves as a means of preserving memory, of raising awareness, and of inspiring empathy. Another crucial layer is the notion of hope and its crucial role in sustaining the human spirit, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. The Karen people, despite enduring constant threats, cling to their faith, their culture, and their hope for a better future. Their unwavering optimism, their refusal to succumb to despair, becomes a powerful symbol of resilience. Think about the moments in your life when you felt overwhelmed by adversity, when the path ahead seemed shrouded in darkness. The story challenges us to consider our own legacy. What kind of mark do we want to leave on the world? How do we want to be remembered? What values do we want to uphold? Now, consider how this applies when you face situations where you feel powerless or insignificant. The narrative encourages us to recognize the power of our individual actions, no matter how small, and the enduring impact they can have on the lives of others. Conversely, the film also touches upon the destructive nature of indifference and the devastating consequences of inaction. The Burmese soldiers, driven by their blind obedience and their lack of empathy, become instruments of oppression, their actions contributing to the suffering of countless innocent people. Their failure to question their orders, their unwillingness to challenge the injustice they witness, highlights the dangers of moral apathy. Furthermore, the film subtly underscores the importance of forgiveness, both for oneself and for others. Can Rambo ever truly forgive himself for the actions he's taken in the past? Can he find a way to reconcile his past with his present, to find meaning in a world that often seems devoid of it? Examining the narrative through the lens of environmental ethics reveals a deeper layer of complexity, an often overlooked dimension of the conflict. The lush Thai jungle, a vibrant ecosystem teeming with life, serves not only as a backdrop for the action but also as a repository of intrinsic value. Furthermore, the Burmese army's actions, the deforestation, the pollution, and the displacement of indigenous populations, represent a severe assault on this natural world. Consequently, the film subtly critiques a worldview that prioritizes human interests above all else, highlighting the interconnectedness of all living things. Building on this, however, the story avoids simplistic portrayals of environmentalism. It doesn't romanticize the natural world or depict it as a pristine paradise untouched by human influence. Instead, it portrays the jungle as a dynamic and complex environment, one that is both beautiful and dangerous, and one that is intrinsically linked to the survival of the Karen people. Another crucial layer is the role of resource extraction. In fueling the conflict, the Burmese army's exploitation of the jungle's resources, their logging operations, their seizure of land, demonstrate the economic drivers behind the violence. Consider, in this context, the ethical implications of our own consumption habits. The products we consume, the resources we utilize, often have hidden environmental costs, consequences that extend far beyond our immediate awareness. Now consider how this applies when you face choices about sustainability. The narrative serves as a reminder that our actions, even seemingly small ones, have a ripple effect, and that we have a responsibility to consider the environmental impact of our choices. Conversely, the film does not solely focus on the destructive aspects of the conflict. It also highlights the resilience of the natural world and its ability to heal. The jungle, with its capacity for regeneration, its diverse ecosystems, and its ability to provide sustenance, offers a counterpoint to the devastation of war. It's a place of refuge, a place of hope, and a symbol of the enduring power of life. Furthermore, the Karen people's intimate knowledge of the jungle, their ability to live in harmony with nature, becomes a key factor in their survival. Furthermore, the narrative underscores the concept of interconnectedness. The fate of the Karen people, the fate of the jungle, and the actions of the Burmese army are all inextricably linked. The film serves as a microcosm of a global issue, a reminder that environmental degradation, social injustice, and armed conflict are often intertwined. Consequently, the story offers a powerful critique of a worldview that prioritizes short-term gains over long-term sustainability. The narrative's exploration of survival also extends into the realm of body and mind, the physiological and psychological demands placed on individuals enduring extreme duress. Consider Rambo's physical resilience, his ability to endure hardship, his mastery of the jungle environment. He is a man forged in the crucible of war, his body a testament to his capacity to withstand pain and injury. Furthermore, his survival depends on his physical prowess, his capacity to navigate treacherous terrain, and his ability to engage in hand-to-hand combat. Building on this, the psychological dimension of survival is equally crucial. The film delves into the mind-body connection, the impact of trauma on the nervous system, and the strategies individuals employ to cope with extreme stress. Rambo, stoicism, his ability to compartmentalize his emotions, his focus on the immediate task at hand, are all survival mechanisms. He's learned to control his fear, to channel his adrenaline, and to remain focused even in the face of overwhelming odds. Another crucial layer is the physiological impact of prolonged stress. The constant threat of violence, the scarcity of resources, the lack of sleep, and the physical demands of the jungle environment take a toll on the body. The narrative offers a glimpse into the physical and mental exhaustion endured by those caught in the conflict. For instance, the Karen people, facing constant displacement and fear, experience chronic stress, which can manifest in a variety of physical symptoms, from headaches and fatigue to compromised immune function. Now, consider how this applies when you face high-pressure situations. The story emphasizes the importance of self-care, the need to recognize the signs of stress, and the importance of employing coping mechanisms to protect your physical and mental well-being. Conversely, the film also highlights the power of the human body to adapt and to heal. The Karen people, despite their hardships, demonstrate remarkable physical and psychological resilience. Their bodies, though often malnourished and injured, continue to function. Their minds, though burdened by trauma, find ways to persevere. Furthermore, the film subtly explores the role of traditional medicine and healing practices in helping the Karen people cope with their physical and emotional wounds. Furthermore, the narrative suggests that the ability to survive is not solely dependent on physical strength. It also relies on mental fortitude, the capacity to maintain hope and to find meaning, even in the darkest of times. Rambo's journey, it is not just a physical test, it's a spiritual one, a quest to find redemption and to make peace with his past. His survival, and the survival of those he seeks to protect, hinges on his ability to overcome his internal demons. Let's shift our focus to the concept of witness and the profound responsibility it entails within the context of the narrative. Consider the role of the camera itself, the instrument through which we, the audience, experience the unfolding events. It becomes a silent observer, documenting the atrocities, the acts of courage, and the everyday struggles of those caught in the crossfire. Furthermore, the film's visual language, the close-ups, the long shots, the use of light and shadow, shapes our perception, guiding us to empathize with the characters and to bear witness to their suffering. Building on this, the story also highlights the significance of bearing witness in a more active sense. The missionaries, initially focused on their humanitarian mission, find themselves compelled to document the abuses they witness. They become chroniclers of the Karen people's plight, gathering evidence of the Burmese army's atrocities. Consequently, their actions serve as a form of resistance, a means of challenging the regime's narrative and of holding the perpetrators accountable. Another crucial layer is the concept of responsibility. Bearing witness is not merely about observing, it's about accepting a moral legitimacy. Another crucial layer is the concept of resistance in its various forms. The Karen people, despite facing overwhelming odds, find ways to defy the regime. This resistance isn't always overt. It can manifest in acts of quiet defiance, such as maintaining their cultural traditions, preserving their language, and refusing to cooperate with the authorities. Conversely, Rambo, with his unique skill set, represents a different form of resistance, a more direct and forceful approach, a willingness to confront the enemy head-on. Furthermore, the film offers a stark portrayal of the dehumanizing effects of propaganda and indoctrination. The Burmese soldiers, brainwashed by their superiors, are often depicted as ruthless and unfeeling, their actions driven by a distorted sense of loyalty and national pride. Now consider how this applies when you encounter narratives designed to manipulate your opinions or beliefs. The story serves as a reminder to critically evaluate the information you receive, to question the source, and to recognize the potential for bias. Consider the historical parallels. Think of the countless regimes throughout history that have employed similar tactics of control and oppression. From the use of censorship and surveillance to the systematic persecution of minority groups, the narrative serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the fight against tyranny requires vigilance, courage, and a commitment to truth and justice. The story highlights the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it seems impossible, and the enduring power of the human spirit to resist oppression. The narrative also presents a compelling examination of the complexities surrounding ethical decision-making in the face of profound moral ambiguity. Consider the choices Rambo is compelled to make. He's a man of action, accustomed to operating in a world where the lines between right and wrong are often blurred by the realities of survival. Furthermore, his past experiences have undoubtedly shaped his moral compass, leaving him grappling with the consequences of his actions. Building on this, however, the story forces us to confront the difficult question of whether the ends justify the means. Is it ever permissible to use violence to achieve a greater good? The narrative doesn't offer a simple answer. Instead, it compels us to contemplate the ethical implications of Rambo's actions and the potential for unintended consequences. The film doesn't shy away from depicting the brutality of war, the physical and psychological toll it takes on individuals, and the moral compromises that are often required for survival. Another crucial layer is the concept of forgiveness, both for oneself and for others. Can Rambo ever truly forgive himself for the actions he's taken in the past? Can he find a way to reconcile his past with his present, to find meaning in a world that often seems devoid of it? Conversely, the story hints at the possibility of forgiveness from others, the potential for redemption through acts of courage and compassion. Think about the situations where you've been compelled to make difficult choices that have challenged your own moral boundaries. The story acts as a mirror, reflecting the complexities of human nature and the inherent contradictions of our moral codes. Now, consider how this applies when you face situations where you must weigh conflicting values. The narrative serves as a reminder that ethical decision-making is not a simple process. It requires careful consideration, empathy, and a willingness to confront the difficult questions. Furthermore, the narrative explores the concept of identity and the ways in which it can be shaped by trauma and circumstance. For Rambo, his identity is inextricably linked to his past, to his experiences in war. He's a soldier, a survivor, a man haunted by the ghosts of his past. Conversely, The Karen people, despite facing constant oppression, maintain their cultural identity, their traditions, and their sense of community. They find strength in their shared heritage, a testament to the enduring power of cultural identity. The narrative also subtly examines the role of media and its impact on shaping public perception of conflict. Consider how the Burmese army controls the flow of information, manipulating the narrative to suit their own purposes. Furthermore, the missionaries, with their limited access to communication tools, struggle to convey the true nature of the conflict to the outside world. The film reminds us of the importance of independent journalism, of the need for accurate and unbiased reporting, and the dangers of propaganda and misinformation. Consider the multifaceted nature of courage, an attribute that transcends mere physical bravery. It manifests not just in the face of imminent peril, but also in the quiet acts of defiance against systemic injustice. Furthermore, the missionaries, venturing into the unknown, exemplify a specific type of valor, a willingness to confront adversity driven by their unwavering faith. Building on this, however, the narrative unveils the courage of the Karen people, their steadfast resilience in the face of relentless oppression, their ability to maintain their cultural identity, their language, and their traditions, despite the constant threat of violence, speaks volumes about the indomitable human spirit. Their courage isn't about grand gestures, it's about the daily acts of survival, the quiet determination to preserve their way of life. Another crucial layer is the understanding that courage isn't a static quality. It evolves and adapts as circumstances change. Rambo, initially seeking solitude, is forced to confront his own demons and to embrace a more proactive role. His courage stems not from a desire for glory, but from a deep-seated sense of responsibility. Consequently, his actions, driven by a desire to protect the vulnerable, represent a transformation, a shift from a man haunted by the past to a protector of the future. Think, for instance, of a single mother fighting tirelessly to provide for her children in the face of economic hardship. Their actions exemplify courage that is not about grand displays of bravery, but rather a constant commitment to their families. Now, consider how this applies when you face situations where you feel powerless or overwhelmed. The narrative serves as a reminder that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. It is about choosing to act, even when the odds are stacked against you, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Conversely, the film subtly explores the concept of moral cowardice. The Burmese soldiers, driven by fear and obedience, often lack the courage to question their orders or to challenge the atrocities they are commanded to commit. Their actions, or rather their inaction, highlight the dangers of conformity and the importance of individual conscience. Their silence becomes a form of complicity, a failure to stand up for what is right. Delving deeper into the narrative, consider the concept of the outsider and how it shapes the protagonist's journey. Rambo, a veteran of countless conflicts, embodies this archetype. He is a man perpetually on the periphery, alienated from mainstream society, and haunted by the horrors he's witnessed. Furthermore, his skills, honed in war, render him both a valuable asset and a source of profound unease to those around him. He is, essentially, a weaponized individual, living a solitary existence, until circumstances drag him back into the fray. Building on this, however, the film doesn't portray Rambo as a simple hero. He is a complex character, burdened by his past. His initial reluctance to get involved, his preference for isolation, highlights the psychological toll of war. He is not driven by a desire for glory or recognition. He is driven by a sense of duty, a desire to protect the innocent. Consequently, this inherent conflict makes him a more compelling and relatable figure, someone whose actions are informed by a deep understanding of violence and its consequences. Another crucial layer is the idea of the savior figure and the potential pitfalls associated with it. The missionaries, with their unwavering faith and their desire to help, inadvertently position themselves as potential saviors. Yet, they are outsiders, lacking the intimate knowledge of the local culture and the complex realities of the conflict. Conversely, Rambo's outsider status, his detachment from the ideological underpinnings of the conflict, allows him to approach the situation with a degree of pragmatism and a focus on immediate survival. Think, for example, of the historical role of foreign aid and intervention. While often driven by noble intentions, such interventions can sometimes exacerbate existing conflicts or lead to unintended consequences. Now, consider how this applies when you encounter situations where someone, or some group, attempts to save you. Are their motivations pure? Do they truly understand the complexities of your situation? Are you prepared to cede control of your own destiny? Furthermore, the narrative explores the theme of home and the search for belonging. For Rambo, home is not a physical place. It is a state of mind, a fragile sense of peace that he strives to maintain. His isolation, his self-imposed exile, is a desperate attempt to create a haven from the horrors of his past. Conversely, for the Karen people, home is inextricably linked to their ancestral land, their culture, and their community. The Burmese army's attempts to displace them, to destroy their villages, represent an assault on their very identity. The story also subtly examines the missionaries' radios, the only lifeline to the outside world, the desperate pleas for help. Consequently, these tools, however limited, become symbols of hope and defiance, connecting the isolated community to a wider network of support. Moreover, the story implicitly critiques the dehumanizing effects of technology when employed without ethical constraints. Another crucial layer is the concept of communication and its impact on the unfolding events. The language barrier between the missionaries, the Karen people, and the Burmese soldiers intensifies the misunderstandings and mistrust. Conversely, Rambo's ability to navigate this linguistic divide, combined with his understanding of the local customs, becomes a critical asset. He bridges the gap, facilitating crucial communication and negotiation, at least to some extent. Think about how language can be used as a weapon, a tool of manipulation. The Burmese soldiers use propaganda and intimidation to control the Karen people. Furthermore, the missionaries, despite their good intentions, may struggle to fully comprehend the complex nuances of the local culture, potentially leading to unintended consequences. Now, consider how this applies when you face situations where miscommunication can escalate conflicts. The story serves as a reminder that effective communication, empathy, and cultural sensitivity are essential for building trust and fostering understanding, especially in high-stakes situations. Furthermore, the narrative highlights the significance of leadership in its various manifestations. Rambo, despite his initial reluctance, emerges as a reluctant leader, his actions driven by a sense of duty and a desire to protect the innocent. The missionaries, with their unwavering faith and dedication, also embody leadership, inspiring the Karen people with their commitment to humanitarian aid. Conversely, the Burmese army's leadership is characterized by brutality, corruption, and a disregard for human life, serving as a stark contrast to the values of compassion and justice. Moreover, the story subtly explores the concept of sacrifice and its enduring power. The missionaries are willing to risk their lives to help the Karen people. Rambo too is willing to put himself in harm's way to protect those under his care. Their willingness to sacrifice their own well-being for the greater good underscores the profound impact of selflessness and the enduring legacy of those who stand up for what they believe in. The narrative also probes the intricate dynamics of cultural exchange and the potential pitfalls of good intentions. Consider the missionaries' arrival in the remote Thai jungle, a collision of cultures with vastly different worldviews and lived experiences. They come bearing aid, driven by their compassion, yet inevitably, they bring with them their own assumptions, biases, and understandings. Furthermore, the Karen people, steeped in their own traditions and beliefs, are now forced to navigate this encounter. Building on this, however, the film doesn't shy away from the complexities of cross-cultural interaction. The missionaries, in their earnest desire to assist, might inadvertently misunderstand the nuances of Karen society, potentially leading to unintended consequences. They might, for instance, underestimate the resilience and self-sufficiency of the Karen people, or they might impose their own values without fully appreciating the existing cultural practices. Consequently, the narrative serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that genuine aid requires not only compassion but also a deep respect for the recipient's culture and autonomy. Another crucial layer is the concept of empathy and its the role in bridging cultural divides. The narrative underscores the importance of stepping outside one's own perspective, of attempting to understand the world through the eyes of another. Rambo, although initially skeptical of the missionaries' mission, gradually develops a sense of empathy for the Karen people, recognizing their suffering and their courage. Conversely, the Burmese soldiers, driven by their hatred and their ideology, demonstrate a complete lack of empathy, dehumanizing their victims and justifying their acts of violence. Think about how this applies when you encounter people from different backgrounds, with different beliefs, and different ways of life. The story serves as a reminder that empathy is not simply a feeling, it's an active process of listening, learning, and seeking to understand. It requires us to challenge our own assumptions, to question our own biases, and to recognize the inherent dignity of every human being. Now, consider how this applies when you face situations where cultural misunderstandings that can lead to conflict. Furthermore, the narrative explores the concept of memory and its enduring impact on the human psyche. For Rambo, the memories of past battles, the faces of fallen comrades, and the horrors he witnessed are ever present. They shape his actions, his relationships, and his understanding of the world. Conversely, the Karen people, facing the constant threat of violence, must grapple with their own memories of loss and suffering. Moreover, the story subtly examines the concept of resilience and the ability to find hope even in the darkest of times. The Karen people, despite facing constant oppression, demonstrate an extraordinary ability to endure. They find ways to maintain their culture, their traditions, and their hope for the future. Their unwavering spirit serves as a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. The narrative also subtly explores the complex interplay of faith and violence, a dichotomy that often surfaces in times of conflict. Consider the missionaries. individuals driven by their deeply held religious convictions, who seek to bring aid and comfort to the oppressed. They embody a belief in the inherent goodness of humanity and the power of compassion. Furthermore, they embrace a commitment to nonviolence, a core tenet of their faith. Building on this, however, their encounter with the brutal realities of the Burmese army forces them to confront a difficult ethical dilemma. The unwavering commitment to nonviolence becomes a challenge in a world where violence is the norm. The story delicately examines the tension between their faith and the need to protect themselves and those they have sworn to help. The narrative does not offer easy answers. Instead, it compels us to contemplate the complexities of moral choices in extreme circumstances. Another crucial layer is the concept of the just war theory, a framework often used to justify the use of force in specific situations. The missionaries, guided by their faith, may grapple with the question of whether their actions, or Rambos, fall within the parameters of a just war. This framework considers factors such as just cause, legitimate authority, right intention, and proportionality. Consequently, the narrative invites us to reflect upon the ethical implications of war and the difficult decisions that individuals must make when confronted with violence. Think about how this applies when you face situations where your values are challenged. The story serves as a reminder that faith is not a passive acceptance of dogma, but a dynamic force that must be constantly tested and refined. It requires us to reconcile our beliefs with the harsh realities of the world. Consider, too, the inherent human desire for peace, a desire that often clashes with the realities of power, struggles, and oppression. Now, consider how this applies when you face difficult moral choices that require you to balance your beliefs with the practicalities of the situation. The story invites us to examine the complexities of faith and violence, and to grapple with the difficult ethical dilemmas that can arise in the face of conflict. Furthermore, the narrative explores the concept of environmental devastation, a subtle yet ever-present element of the conflict. The Burmese army's actions, the clearing of land, the use of natural resources to fuel their war machine, and the displacement of the Karen people have a detrimental impact on the delicate ecosystem of the jungle. This destruction serves as a metaphor for the broader consequences of war, a reminder that conflict not only harms human lives but also inflicts lasting damage on the natural world. Conversely, the jungle itself becomes a symbol of resilience. The dense foliage, the diverse wildlife, and the ability of the ecosystem to regenerate offer a counterpoint to the destructive forces of war. The jungle provides sustenance, shelter, and a refuge for the Karen people, demonstrating the power of nature to heal and to endure. The narrative further unveils the inherent dangers of unchecked power and the insidious ways in which authoritarian regimes manipulate their populations. Consider the Burmese army, not simply as a military force, but as a tool of oppression, designed to suppress dissent and maintain control through fear and intimidation. Moreover, their tactics, ranging from propaganda and misinformation to brutal acts of violence, are meticulously calculated to break the spirit of the Karen people and anyone who dares to resist. Building on this, the story subtly illustrates how such regimes thrive on isolation and the suppression of information. The Karen people are cut off from the outside world, deprived of access to accurate news and alternative perspectives. Consequently, the Burmese army controls the narrative, shaping the perceptions of both the Karen people and the international community. This manipulation allows them to justify their actions and to maintain a facade of testament to the enduring power of cultural identity. The film celebrates their unique traditions, their music, and their customs, underscoring the importance of safeguarding cultural diversity and resisting the homogenizing forces of globalization. Think about the various indigenous cultures across the globe and how they resist extinction. Conversely, the film masterfully uses the setting of the Thai jungle to symbolize the hidden dangers and moral ambiguities inherent in armed conflict. The dense foliage, the treacherous terrain, and the ever-present threat of ambush mirror the psychological landscape of war, where trust is a rare commodity and every decision carries significant risk. The jungle's shadows become a visual manifestation of the unseen threats and moral compromises that define the conflict. The jungle is also a place of rebirth, however, a place that nurtures life even amidst the ravages of war. Another crucial layer is the film's subtle exploration of the theme of the power of human connection, underscoring the importance of empathy and compassion in overcoming adversity. Rambo, a man initially isolated and withdrawn, finds himself drawn to the missionaries and the Karen people, forming bonds that transcend cultural and linguistic barriers. His willingness to risk his life for others demonstrates the transformative power of human connection, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, hope and solidarity can prevail. Now, consider how this applies when you witness acts of kindness and compassion in your own community. Do you see a willingness to help others? Reflecting on this journey so far, we've witnessed a profound transformation, a descent into darkness and a tentative ascent towards something more. The narrative, like a river carving its path through a complex landscape, has revealed layers of meaning, each one subtly shaping our understanding of the central figure and the world he inhabits. The initial image of solitude, of a man seeking refuge from the echoes of the past, has slowly given way to a deeper exploration of the human condition, of the enduring struggle between self-preservation and the call to action. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, even as the details remain shrouded in the mist of conflict. We've considered the weight of responsibility, the burden of experience, and the enduring power of the human spirit to endure and adapt. We've seen the devastating impact of unchecked power, the insidious nature of propaganda, and the enduring consequences of violence, like a tapestry woven from threads of courage, loss, and moral complexity. The story has presented a multifaceted picture, one that resists easy categorization. Drawing these strands together, we see a narrative that transcends the simple confines of an action film. It becomes a meditation on the nature of heroism, on the complexities of war, and on the enduring search for meaning in a world often defined by chaos. The protagonist's journey, a solitary trek through a landscape of both physical and emotional peril, mirrors the internal struggles we all face when confronted with difficult choices. The story, in many ways, is a mirror reflecting the human condition and its capacity for both incredible brutality and remarkable compassion. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative effect of these interwoven themes. The various threads, once distinct, have begun to intertwine, creating a richer, more nuanced understanding of the central character's motivations and the world that has shaped him. The journey, like a ship navigating treacherous waters, is nearing its final destination, its course charted by the events and experiences that have come before. We are now poised to witness the final act, the culmination of a story that has challenged us, moved us, and ultimately reminded us of the enduring power of the human heart. The final act unfolds, a brutal crescendo that leaves an indelible mark. We've traversed the emerald heart of Thailand, witnessed the shattering of solitude, and explored the profound complexities of a man forced to confront the demons of his past. This journey, far from being a simple tale of action and adventure, has served as a potent meditation on the human condition, a poignant exploration of responsibility, and the unending struggle to reconcile the inherent darkness within us with the yearning for peace. The story's core message transcends the screen, echoing in the quiet corners of our own lives. We've seen a character wrestling with the echoes of war, bearing the weight of his experiences, and ultimately choosing to act. The narrative doesn't offer easy answers. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world around us. It's a stark reminder that heroism isn't always found in grand gestures, but frequently in the quiet acts of courage, the unwavering commitment to doing what is right, even when the path is fraught with peril. The true power of this tale lies not just in its depiction of violence and conflict, but in its profound exploration of the human spirit. The protagonist's evolution, the gradual shedding of his isolation, and his willingness to embrace his duty offer a powerful message of hope. It reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we possess the capacity for empathy, for compassion, and for the unwavering pursuit of a better world. The film's core message is a call to action, inviting us to examine our own values, to confront our own prejudices, and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all. The closing scene fades, leaving us with a lingering question: what kind of world do we want to create? The film's impact isn't about providing closure, but about igniting a spark, a call to ongoing reflection. The true practice begins now, as we navigate our own lives, grappling with the complexities of the world, and striving to make a difference. It urges us to remember that the fight for peace, for justice, and for a more compassionate world is a continuous effort, one that demands not only courage but also a profound understanding of the human heart. The echoes of the jungle fade, but the lessons learned remain, urging us to embrace our own capacity for resilience, for empathy, and for the unwavering pursuit of a brighter future. Willingness to risk their lives to help others serves as a powerful counterpoint to Rambo's more pragmatic approach. This juxtaposition raises fundamental questions about the nature of heroism and the different ways individuals can choose to confront evil. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the theme of redemption. Rambo's journey isn't merely about surviving. It's about finding a way to reconcile his past with his present. He grapples with his inner demons, confronting the guilt and trauma associated with his wartime experiences. His actions, though often violent, are ultimately driven by a desire to protect the innocent and to atone for his past transgressions. Now consider how this dynamic impacts your own decision-making process when faced with difficult moral choices in your life. Do you follow your values even when it's challenging? Let's now examine the film's nuanced portrayal of the concept of duty, a crucial element in Rambo's character arc, particularly as it evolves beyond his initial desire for solitude. The narrative doesn't depict duty as a simplistic adherence to orders or a blind allegiance to authority. Instead, it presents duty as a complex, deeply personal commitment, a recognition of one's responsibility to protect the vulnerable and to stand up against injustice, even when the cost is immeasurable. This profound sense of obligation acts as the catalyst that compels Rambo to abandon his self-imposed exile and re-enter the world of violence. Moreover, the film masterfully employs the concept of visual storytelling to deepen the emotional impact. The cinematography, with its use of close-ups and sweeping landscape shots, isn't just about capturing the action. It's about conveying the emotional states of the characters. The stark contrast between the serene beauty of the Thai jungle and the brutal violence of war underscores the tragic irony of the situation, highlighting the fragility of peace and the enduring consequences of conflict. The camera often focuses on Rambo's face, capturing the subtle shifts in his expressions, conveying his internal struggles and his evolving commitment to duty. Building on this, the film subtly explores the theme of cultural misunderstanding and the challenges of cross-cultural communication. The interactions between the missionaries, the Karen people, and the Burmese soldiers reveal the difficulties of navigating different cultural norms and values. The film doesn't shy away from portraying the complexities of these interactions, highlighting the potential for miscommunication and misunderstanding, as well as the importance of empathy and respect. This is further demonstrated in the differences in how the missionaries try to convey their ideas to the Karen people compared to how Rambo does. Consequently, the film's narrative structure, with its blend of action, suspense, and moments of quiet contemplation, mirrors the emotional journey of the protagonist. The explosive action sequences serve as a visceral representation of the chaos and brutality of war, while the quieter moments allow the audience to connect with Rambo's inner turmoil, his struggles, and his evolving sense of duty. The juxtaposition of these contrasting elements creates a compelling cinematic experience. These are the moments where the weight of his past crashes on him. Conversely, the film presents a counterpoint to the traditional portrayal of the heroic savior. Rambo isn't a flawless figure. He is a man with flaws, a man wrestling with the consequences of his past actions. His willingness to embrace violence, it is not celebrated. It is portrayed as a necessary evil, a last resort. His actions are driven by a complex mix of motives, a sense of duty, a desire to protect the innocent, and a need for redemption. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the concept of the greater good. Rambo's actions are ultimately motivated by a desire to serve the greater good, to protect the innocent, and to challenge the forces of oppression. His willingness to sacrifice himself to risk his life for the sake of others is a testament to his evolving sense of duty and his commitment to fighting for what he believes in. Now, consider how this applies when you face difficult choices in your own life. Do you find yourself weighing the consequences of your actions, striving to make choices that benefit not just yourself but also others? The narrative also engages with the theme of the psychological impact of prolonged exposure to violence, extending beyond the immediate battlefield. The film doesn't merely depict the physical injuries of war. It delves into the invisible wounds, the insidious ways that trauma can reshape an individual's psyche. Rambo's character, a man haunted by flashbacks and struggling with social isolation, serves as a stark representation of the lasting consequences of combat. Further, the film subtly acknowledges the profound difficulty veterans frequently encounter when attempting to reintegrate into civilian life, a process often fraught with misunderstanding and a lack of support. Building on this, the film offers a powerful critique of unchecked power and the dangers of authoritarianism, a theme that resonates strongly with the current global landscape. The depiction of the Burmese military, a force fueled by a ruthless ideology and a complete disregard for human rights, serves as a cautionary tale. Their actions, ranging from the systematic oppression of the Karen people to the use of brutal tactics, underscore the importance of resisting tyranny and upholding democratic values. The film doesn't shy away from portraying the horrors that can arise when power is concentrated in the hands of the few, highlighting the devastating impact of corruption and abuse. Consequently, the narrative indirectly touches upon the concept of moral responsibility within the context of international relations. The film's portrayal of the conflict raises questions about the role of foreign powers, the ethics of intervention, and the challenges of navigating complex geopolitical landscapes. The missionaries, driven by altruistic intentions, find themselves entangled in a situation far beyond their understanding, highlighting the potential pitfalls of well-intentioned yet poorly informed actions. The film therefore encourages viewers to consider the implications of their own actions in a globalized world. Conversely, the film masterfully uses the natural environment as a character in itself, a dynamic and ever-present force that shapes the narrative. The lush, vibrant Thai jungle, a sanctuary for Rambo, becomes a battleground, a place where beauty and brutality coexist. The filmmakers use the setting not just as a backdrop, but as a reflection of the internal and external struggles of the characters. The jungle's dense foliage, its hidden dangers, and its untamed beauty mirrored the complexities of war and the human condition. Another crucial layer is the film's exploration of the theme of the human capacity for both cruelty and compassion, a duality that defines the narrative's central conflict. The Burmese soldiers, acting under orders, commit acts of unimaginable cruelty, while the missionaries, driven by their faith, display extraordinary compassion. Rambo, a man shaped by violence, ultimately chooses to act in the service of others, demonstrating the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. Now, consider how this applies when you read the news or witness events that may seem overwhelming. Do you focus on the negativity, or do you look for the good in humanity? Consider the film's nuanced exploration of the theme of resilience, extending beyond mere physical endurance. This resilience manifests not just in Rambo's ability to survive the harsh realities of the jungle and the brutal conflict, it's also evident in his capacity to adapt and persevere through profound emotional hardship. It's a testament to the human spirit's inherent capacity to bounce back, to find strength even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. This is exemplified by Rambo's willingness to confront his past traumas, to acknowledge his flaws, and to ultimately choose to fight for what he believes in. Furthermore, the narrative showcases the concept of the ripple effect of violence, a phenomenon that extends far beyond the immediate battlefield and impacts generations. The actions of the Burmese military, rooted in a history of conflict and oppression, have repercussions that transcend the immediate victims. The Karen people, displaced and traumatized, are forced to rebuild their lives and communities, carrying the scars of war into the future. The film therefore offers a stark portrayal of how violence can create a cycle of suffering, impacting not only individuals but also entire cultures. Building on this, the filmmakers utilize the contrast between the characters' backgrounds to highlight the varied ways individuals confront conflict. The missionaries, with their unwavering faith and commitment to non-violence, represent a stark contrast to Rambo's pragmatic, action-oriented approach. This juxtaposition forces the audience to contemplate the effectiveness of different strategies for resolving disputes, questioning whether pacifism can be a viable option in the face of overwhelming aggression. Consider the different approaches used today by world leaders to solve conflict. Consequently, the film's portrayal of the Karen people offers a compelling case study in cultural preservation amid adversity. Their resilience in the face of relentless attacks, their determination to maintain their traditions, and their unwavering commitment to their way of life are